Hi, this is Chae from the Writing Center, and I'm here with Dr. Jeffery Nicholas for an interview on prewriting. This is part of our series on DWC learning resources, which can be found on our website. In high school, we hear about the 5-paragraph essay. Why should we avoid this at the college level?
It's interesting to ask that question at this time because I just finished grading a bunch of essays. When people were writing the smaller essays in 5-paragraph form, that sort of worked okay, but in the longer essay, it doesn't, because what happens then is organization is just shot, right? Because now everyone's trying to put everything into 5 paragraphs rather than having develop thought, develop thought, develop thought. So it really destroys organization, which also destroys meaning.
So then what advice do you have for better organization tips in an essay?
Always to begin with what your thesis is and to be as specific with your thesis as possible, because that's what organizes your essay. And then think about, well, what is it that's required for each part of that thesis to be true? Now, organization doesn't just happen, right? I know lots of people outline, and that's one perfectly good way to do it. Every time I outline, it's hard to stick to it, and so I have to go back and re-outline and reorganize. That's perfectly fine as well. You just have to be committed to doing the work to get the organization.
Okay, so what's your advice for getting started? How do you arrive at organization? And you had mentioned outlining before. Are there other tips as a writer and as a teacher that you have?
I've done it a number of ways, right? Outlining is one process, and that's the way you have to do it if you go through certain PhD programs or those sorts of things. But other ways, if I'm writing just a paper for a conference or even for a journal article, I just start writing. After I've written it, then I let it sit for a couple of days, and I know that's much harder to do if you're a student because you've got to get the assignment in, and then there's the next assignment. But I write the essay first, and then I go back and I start looking at it and thinking about, what am I trying to say here? So you could do it with the outline, or you can do it with just writing and then being willing to cut. Stephen King says you got to cut the first 50 pages, and his novels are still long. He probably should cut the first 150. You've got to be willing to cut things.
Okay. So what are the biggest issues for your students with organization, and how can that be solved with prewriting?
One of the biggest problems with organization is just not being willing to rewrite. And I think that's where prewriting could actually save time rather than taking up time, because in the prewriting process, what you're doing is you're getting through some of the ideas that are going to block you from your main idea, right? So if I'm prewriting, I'm thinking about, why am I struggling with this paper? What is it that I really want to say? And it's through doing that in an informal way that I am able to get to the point where I want to start writing the actual paper. It also helps for me is to take a walk or take a run before I start writing. I do a lot of processing in the run. I know it doesn't look like I run. These days it's just the elliptical, but just having that, 30 to 60 minutes on the exercise machine to clarify my thoughts and think about what I'm going to write that day really helps. So organization, you can do the outline, you could just sit down and start writing, you can pre-write, or you can do an exercise first, like a physical exercise, and then start writing.
Awesome, thank you so much. Do you have any other tips or advice for your students or for other students in the Civ program right now?
I always say to students to go to the Writing Center, and I say 90% of students do not go to the Writing Center for the first paper, and then they get back their grades, and then they want to go to the Writing Center. And it's just easier for everyone, including your professor, if you go to the Writing Center first, just to have that polishing effect there and enjoy the writing process.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking the time today to do this interview.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.